Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about Carmella and Sasha Banks, which was actually the lead program for Smackdown on December the 11th, 2020. So the show starts with the contract signing between Sasha Banks and Carmella, and Sasha Banks comes out, and she's honestly never looked better. I know a lot of people on Twitter are really like goo goo gaga over Sasha Banks. I've never been that goo goo gaga over Sasha Banks. But whatever she was wearing on Friday, it took me completely by surprise. I was like, whoa, because her shorts was like super short and her legs looked like, oh man, her legs look nice. Anyway, I'm not going to get too vulgar. It's only a minute into the video. But Carmella refused to come to the ring because Sasha Banks attacked her. So she wanted to keep her distance, but she did sign the contract. So she signed the contract and she sent it via her sommelier, who is a guy I really want to talk about. I want to talk about him later, though, after I talk about Carmella and all this stuff. So the sommelier, as he's making his way to the ring, Sasha Banks is getting kind of frustrated with Carmella not wanting to be in the ring and, doing a lot of extra stuff, trying to stay away from her. And she said, "You want to play games? So let's play some games. Let's play the game of how fast I can make you cry, or how far I can bend your neck back, and all this sorts of stuff." And Carmella's like, that's not gonna happen. So the sommelier brings the contract to Sasha Banks, who signs it. And then she says, "You're not the boss. I'm the boss. I make the rules here. I'm the shot caller here. So how about we do this match tonight? And not do it. No, wait to TLC. Let's just do it tonight." And Carmella's like, "You know what? Okay, let's do it tonight. We'll do it tonight." Adam Pearce makes it official, and the main event of SmackDown is set up as Sasha Banks versus Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now, later in the show, Carmella is talking about how she's untouchable. How she kind of does a little nod to Mariah Carey, which is actually a sort of a wink and a nod to her new character. We'll get into that in a moment. But she's talking about like tonight, everybody's going to say like Sasha Banks, I don't know her. And she's talking about how, all these, she's going to beat Sasha Banks' ass and, look sexy doing it. And then she, snaps her fingers and here comes the sommelier and she orders him to bring her some champagne because she's going to beat Sasha Banks and she wants to celebrate in style. So, for those who don't know, a sommelier is a wine steward. It's somebody who handles wine. And Carmella has started her own wine company. So this is kind of the basics of her whole champagne, wine, thing. So we get the match. So Carmella's new entrance. Carmella has a new entrance that features a dance at the beginning with a silhouette. Now, I'm of the opinion that that's not Carmella. So like to me, when I saw that silhouette and I saw how the dancing was going, I was like, that is not Carmella. Like, could it be Carmella? I don't know, but whoever that was, they was a little bit more shapely than Carmella is. But it also could have been the camera angle. So I could be completely wrong. Now the music, because of the quote unquote crowd noise, I couldn't really hear the music. But it's obviously different. She's completely different. I mean, everybody who's like, "Oh my gosh, she's ditching the moonwalking and everything." Like, of course, you think that she was gonna, you didn't think she was gonna completely change her character. I mean, when she attacked Sasha Banks a couple of weeks ago, her music was different. She's a completely different character now. They're elevating Carmella. Her entrance is bigger than it used to be. It's bigger now than most people's entrance. Like with the whole curtain falling. The dance at the beginning and the video package at the beginning, which is basically like a Tron, right? Where, which is basically Carmella's face and she's like in a cage and it's kind of like a model, and then there's the little dance part. So it's like three parts to her entrance. So like there's the entrance video, then it's the curtain dance, and then the curtain falls and Carmella actually enters. So you have that and her. It's a big star entrance. It's a big star making, she's a big deal entrance. And it actually made me for a minute think that Carmella was just going to win the title tonight. On the show. And I like the fact that I thought that, that maybe Carmella just win the belt. So Sasha Banks has her entrance. They do the ring entrances, and they have the match. And my opinion of Carmella's entrance is that it's great. I'm still questioning whether Carmella was the one actually doing the dance or not, but that's neither here nor there. The entrance was great. I think it was a good entrance. Takes Carmella from one place to another, introduces her whole new character. So I did enjoy that. The match itself, but Carmella is not a ring general, but she's not the type of person that stumbles and fumbles all over herself either. Like she's not. She's athletic enough that she can do what she can do. Like, is Carmella going to be Ronda Rousey, tie you up in a knot? No. But she can do her stuff. Some of the stuff that she knows how to do. And she can do that well. She can execute what she can do. She's like, that's never like, for the last couple of years, she's actually been refining her matches. And Sasha Banks is Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks can work when she's not, diving and almost killing herself. So they have a pretty good match. The only thing, I have two complaints. One complaint is that they used an X Factor, the face buster on the ring apron, and it was like a go to commercial spot. It's like that should lead into the finish. Like if you're jamming, especially a small woman, you're jamming her head into the hardest part of the ring, which is the ring apron. And you don't go for the finish. You also have more match to do after that. And Sasha Banks doesn't really sell it like holding her head or neck or nothing like that for the rest of the match. It's just like, oh, I just jammed your head into this ring apron, and how about that? And we just keep going. It's like, well, if that could have played into the finish, or if that could have debilitated Sasha later, like that would have been excellent. And plus, I think the X Factor is like one of those diva era moves that everybody used in the Divas era. Because I believe like Tori Wilson used to do it. Like there was a couple women, like Kelly used to do it. Like there was a couple women from that era that just used the X Factor because it's an easy move to do, and it requires like hair pulling. But that was like the only real problem I had with this match, is that the psychology of you doing a face buster on the ring apron in the middle of the match. I just did not like that. But I did like that, Carmella got the code of silence, which is her leg lock on Sasha Banks, and Sasha Banks escaped it and put her into the bank statement. And then the sommelier rolls a champagne bottle in the ring. The referee, doesn't admonish the guy for rolling a champagne bottle in the ring. He just picks up the champagne bottle and walks off and like puts it back. As the referee turns his back, the sommelier pulls Sasha Banks out of the ring. Now we really get some good stuff here because Sasha Banks is pissed. She had beaten this guy up earlier because he dared to come down there with this contract, and what was this, instead of Carmella coming down there. So she beat him up, put him in the bank statement earlier in the contract signing part of the segment. And so she's giving him the riot act for pulling him out of the ring. So you want to hurt me, you want to attack me. So she's ready to go after this guy again. So the guy runs. I don't know why. Like he's a full grown man, but he runs from this diminutive woman. Sasha Banks is what, 5'6" maybe. But he's probably not that much bigger. But he's trying to get her over. I mean, I'm okay with it. He's just a wine steward, quote unquote. He's just a manservant on Carmella. So I'm not going to go into the whole men shouldn't be scared of women. I'm just going to go into, he's playing his role. He's the hand servant on Carmella. I'm okay with him not being able to fight. So he runs away. Sasha Banks obviously chases him because babyfaces always chase the heels who are running. That's one of the pet peeves that I'm actually starting to develop, is that you really don't have to chase a heel. You don't have to. You just catch up with them later. But he chased the guy, she catches the guy. Carmella attacks her from behind, and they have a little fight. And then Sasha Banks sort of goes off where she's, she kind of loses it, and she just starts beating Carmella in the corner. And she's windmill punching like, ah! And the referee's like, break it up. And he got to 5 pretty fast. When it comes to the count, comes to the disqualification, he got there pretty fast. But Sasha Banks was stomping Carmella in the corner, standing on her, punching her and all that type of stuff. Then the sommelier turns Sasha Banks around, and then she beats him up again for like the third time. and she puts them in the bank statement, and then Carmella gets the upper hand. So now Carmella is, she's got she's got the disqualification win, even though it hasn't been announced yet. And Carmella beats up Sasha Banks. And then Carmella gets dark. Like, the character was always sort of, instead of being like a smarmy, cowardly heel, she kind of digs into being a lot darker. So she takes, she drags Sasha Banks over to the champagne, where she puts her face into the pail and throws it. So there's ice everywhere now. And the referee's like, "That's enough. That is enough. Stop it. It's enough." And she's like, "Oh, it's enough? You think it's enough?" She asks Sasha, she asks Corey Graves, who didn't answer, and she asks Michael Cole, "You think it's enough?" And Michael Cole's like, yes, I think it's enough. She was like, "Oh, okay, it is enough." So she grabs the bottle of champagne. I mean, you should have known when the champagne was introduced that she was going to hit Sasha Banks with the champagne. She grabs the champagne, which is color coded. Like, there's a green bottle of champagne and there's a gold bottle of champagne. The gold bottle of champagne obviously has, it's probably made of sugar glass. So she grabs it and she's going to hit Sasha Banks with it, and she hits her across the back. She hits her across the back with the champagne. And Sasha sold it very well. But I was sitting here, obviously you would think, like, just hit her in the head. Be a little bit more vicious, hit her in the head. But, WWE is just trying to, avoid the head shots with various objects. I'm guessing champagne glasses are now on the list of things you can't hit people in the head with. But it was also very smart, because maybe Sasha Banks can sell the body. Even though, through the storyline with Bayley, we were working Sasha Banks' neck. It would have been a great, piece of continuity for her to hit Sasha Banks like in the back of maybe in the upper part of the shoulder, and then the referee could have, not the referees, but the commentators could have said, "Oh, the injured neck of Sasha Banks, who injured her neck against Bayley." That would have been like some great continuity. But WWE doesn't, they probably weren't even thinking about that. So they had Carmella hit her in the back. So Carmella struts around, and then I like that she kind of code switches. Like, again, you see like the diva Carmella, and then she kind of goes back to being sort of the homegirl. Like when you have the what was that stupid show? I keep talking about this stupid show when I talk about Carmella, but I never remember what it's called. It's called Jersey Shore. But I was just like, that kind of, that sort of Guido street kind of thing. Like, the Italians have their own kind of street culture. So it's kind of like she kind of tapped into that a little bit when she kneeled down at Sasha and she was like, "I'm not on your level, huh? What level are you on now?" Like, it was like the entire presentation of it and the execution of it was very gritty. It was actually a little bit, I was kind of hip hop ish, where it wasn't like a typical, she was yelling while walking around kind of thing, or like she was trying to keep her distance from Sasha Banks. It was, she got, down on, like, she crouched, and the way that she kind of was performing the body language was very confrontational, much like you would get from somebody who's a little bit more street, a little bit more harder edge. And it's actually sort of a bit of a callback to her previous persona, which was supposed to be a little bit more street with the dancing and kind of being hip hop themed and that sort of thing. So it's like, it's that piece is still there, but it's also has been completely divorced with this whole new diva like persona. And that's really what Carmella is supposed to be. There's certain parts of the Carmella character that take pieces from Beyonce. It takes pieces from Mariah Carey. It takes pieces from all of the, big time divas from television, where, she's ordering people around. She's got, this attitude. She's also becoming more of a comic book villain, where she's cackling about, "I'm going to beat Sasha Banks and look sexy as hell doing it." Like, and it's kind of like, I'm really enjoying the layers also that they're adding to Carmella. It's like, yeah, she's confrontational, but she's not, completely cowardly heel. Like, she hasn't run away yet. Like, she seems to be down for the shits. And then she sprayed champagne all over everybody. And, it seemed like she really had kind of lost it right then and there. Like, even though she won the match, she seems, anxious to prove herself. and I really like that. Like I said, it has the SmackDown is doing a good job having characters with multiple layers. And Carmella seems is a character that has now multiple layers, where she is this diva. She has been successful already, but she's kind of insecure at the same time, and she's also still kind of harder edge than most divas tend to be. If she still has that Real Housewives, what was it, Mob Wives sort of. I was just gonna say, Real Housewives is black people. We're gonna go with Mob Wives when it kind of comes to Carmella. So I enjoyed all of this. I kind of knew. Did I know it was going to be a disqualification? No. Am I surprised? No. Am I upset? No. um, I'm just not surprised at all. SmackDown has been doing a good job of staggering their stories. They put a lot of focus on this one story, so this is going to be a pretty good match at TLC. They're just going to run it back with TLC. So let's talk about the sommelier. So the sommelier, whose name I don't know, I don't know what his character name is, and I also don't know what his real name is. But that guy is the most interesting dude on TV right now, and he's introduced as sort of the hand servant of Carmella. He basically gets her champagne. I guess he was the guy handing her cameras and all that type of stuff. Hopefully, he's going to be an important part of her acting. She's going to go forward with it. But this is the dude who was in Cirque du Soleil. But that's not what makes him interesting. Before he was in Cirque du Soleil, he was a Crip, a gangbanger. I was like, this is an incredible story that this dude who was a teenage gangbanger somehow got out of the hood, went on to join the fucking circus, and then quit the circus to be a wrestler. Like, this dude is fucking real life Nightwing. For those who don't know, Nightwing is a comic book character. It is the grown-up version of Robin. So Dick Grayson is a circus performer. His family gets killed, and he gets adopted by Batman. And his acrobatics and all that sort of stuff is how he's able to be a very good superhero, because he's a trained acrobat already. So he basically uses acrobatics as, part of his superhero act. But this guy, I don't know what he did in Cirque du Soleil. And I'm a fan of Cirque du Soleil. But, there's so many people involved in those productions. It's impossible for me to even know who one person is. So I've seen enough Cirque du Soleil. I don't know if I've seen him in it. But there are pictures of him from the show. There's also been some interesting amount of WWE Cirque du Soleil crossover. They were doing something where they were basically training with each other a couple of years ago. I think it was on the WWE PC YouTube channel, where the wrestlers were doing Cirque du Soleil training, and Cirque du Soleil athletes, the acrobats and all those people, they were doing wrestling training. And I'm guessing maybe his interest in wrestling came from that, because it was like not too long, maybe a year or two. I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe about 3 years, maybe 4, maybe. But he seemed to have come from that situation. So I know he's got to have an interesting story. I can't wait for them to get there. But instead of thinking about that, or all I got was, when I peeked at Twitter, the only thing I got was Carmella has a black manservant. That's racist. And I was like, oh, fuck. We just can't get away from it. We just have to talk about it every single time. So let's talk about it. This guy has been given a unique opportunity. He is skipped NXT. I have not seen him in NXT. I don't believe anybody else has either. So his first real role in WWE is a main event women's role. He's introduced the night that Carmella is going to main event SmackDown. So instead of saying, okay, this is an interesting opportunity for this guy, guy has an interesting background. He's got a hell of a story to tell, instead of like looking and evaluating his performance, and his performance was not that bad. He didn't have to do that much. He didn't have to talk. He just had to sell a little bit, which he did. He had to look scared. He can work on that a little bit. But he didn't do a bad job. Instead of like evaluating his job and, looking at the opportunities that he's been given, all we got was Carmella has a black manservant. Why does she have a black manservant? Why couldn't he be white? Why couldn't it be a woman? Why couldn't it be blah, blah, blah? And I just said to myself, like, I don't, this is a big chance for this guy. And what we want to do is take it away from him. Like, just think about what I just said. This guy was a gangbanger who left the hood to join the fucking circus, and then left the circus to join a different circus. But no, to just be a pro wrestler. He has, you know, an uncanny amount of, you know, opportunities right here, and we're just gonna snatch it away from him because he's paired with a white woman. I don't. Look, there's enough homeboys in WWE right now that are not manservants that you can have a black manservant. Okay, and not everybody has to be the Hurt Business or the New Day. Okay, people can do different things, you know. So I'm okay with the black manservant. I just wish people would not do stuff like that, because if that stuff starts to gain momentum, and then somebody catches wind, and we have to take this guy's push away from him, or even though it's not really a push, but his position, then you're like, that's not cool. You know, let the guy get some experience. Like, he's going to actually learn from this situation. You know, like being teamed up with Carmella is going to be different than being in the PC learning from Terry Taylor or something like that. It's going to be completely different because Carmella is, doesn't know how to work in the ring, you know, but she knows how to work her character. She can get over. And that's the best thing to learn from people, is how to get over, how to project your personality. And you can learn that from Carmella and Sasha Banks. Even if you can't learn the wrist lock, headlock takeover, you know, how to do a flying head scissors, because it's kind of slow when women do it. But even if you can't learn that part, you can learn how to project your character, how to make yourself look bigger and feel bigger than you really are. Like they did with Carmella tonight, on the show. You know, they had Carmella look huge, like she was a superstar. And instead of being Smackdown Women's Champion one time, she came across like she had been a perennial main event act, you know, because she portrayed that character. She had that confidence. If she can impart even a little bit of that wisdom onto this guy, and then you add all the other people he has access to, then he might have something going for himself in the future. Give the guy a chance. Like, stop robbing people of opportunities because you don't like what the opportunity looks like to you. They didn't ask you to do it. They asked him to do it. He didn't have no problem doing it. It fits Carmella's character. He has no character yet. He's just there to learn. He's there either to be an extra for one night, or to be at her side from this point forward. Either way, it's good. I'm fine with it. I just wish people wouldn't do stuff like that. Like, you want to rob this guy of an opportunity because of his skin color, which is entirely ironic, right? His skin color is the reason he can't have this position. This is stupid, man. It's stupid. But I enjoyed all of this stuff. You know, I really look forward to what they're going to do with this guy. I don't know if his name is Tommy or Timothy or whatever his name is supposed to be. I'm enjoying how Carmella is, going half Mob Wives, half Cruella DeVille. Sasha Banks is kind of a weak face because she's very arrogant. And so she's kind of, she has this sort of, the boss mentality is good for the character, I guess. But it's kind of unlikable at the same time, where she still kind of hasn't really changed from being a heel. So it's basically her opponent has to be even more heelish, which is fine, I guess. But I did like her intensity in the segments that she was in. She's really getting a good grip of being intense. So I liked all of this, I didn't have no problems with it. But let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. Like this video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for listening, and I shall talk to you guys later.